Hello and welcome to the show today. I am your host and founder of Heaven to Earth, Susan Fleming, business alignment therapist, equipping kingdom leadership to multiply life without burnout. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Well, welcome back for this week's episode, part 2, with the amazing, incredible, super talented Miss Julia Winston. If you missed part 1, you have to go back and watch it. There is so much gold in what she is sharing with us, and I'm excited to dive in to part 2 with Julia Winston.
Yes. Yes. I say this, you don't need to have someone else co-sign on your greatness. We don't need co-signers. God has already made us great. And what I believe in this leadership movement is happening is, especially for those who are spiritually connected, right? It's like you have a belief in God. And what I'm seeing God do in leaders now, and he's been doing it for a minute, but I see it in a greater degree now because of the vantage point that I have working with people, is he's saying, you've always believed in me, but I need you to believe in you because I believe in you. And that to the obedient, right? To the one who is like, God, I will do whatever you tell me to do. I'm just going to be obedient to what the Lord says. That perspective shift is very difficult for leaders because the truth of the matter is you've earned that level of trust and respect from the Lord because of your obedience. And he's saying now, but we have to move and shift because in order for you to do what I'm calling you to do, you have to have that same level of confidence in who I made you and how I've developed you so that you can see that for yourself, right? And we're in a time now where it's like, God is great. And for the leaders, especially, again, pioneers, trailblazers, for the leaders he's called to do that, he's like, yeah, I'm great. But I need you to know that so are you. Because you will not pioneer a new thing in a follower position. So he's real, and that shift from blind obedience, like there are people who are like, God, whatever you tell me to do, I'm gonna do it. Consequences be what they may, I'm gonna do that. And then when he says, okay, now what do you want to do? Then they're like, well, I don't know. What do you want me to do? Well, what do you want to do? I will do whatever you want me to do. Well, I'm asking you what you want me to do. Well, no, God, I'm not going to give a suggestion here because you're God, you're sovereign. I'm your servant. I will do whatever you want me to do. And it reminds me of another movie, right? Coming to America, when he was meeting an arranged marriage. He was meeting the woman and he was like, hey, I just want to talk to you before we get married, just to get to know each other. And she was like, ever since I was born, I was trained to serve you. And he was like, that's great. But do you have a favorite food? And she goes, yes. He goes, what's your favorite food? And she says, whatever food you like. He's like, okay. Do you have and he was trying to go, and her answer was, whatever you like, whatever you like. And he goes, okay, wait. I know what I like. And I know you know what I like because you've been trained to know what I like. But what I want to know is, what do you like, right? And I feel like the Lord is saying that because he goes, I know what I like. You've been trained to know what I like. That's how our spiritual upbringings have come. He's like, but for where you're going, you have to have a thought that I'm co-signing, that I say, oh, yeah, I want to be a part of that, right? How do you think Abraham was it Abraham or was it Lot? Okay, I can't remember. It's like, but if there be 50 righteous, don't destroy the city. Who was that? Was that Abraham? I think that was him, right? How do you think he was able to do that? If there be 50 righteous, don't destroy the city. Like God's like, I'm gonna destroy him. And then this man, human, says, wait, no, you're not. Right? You can't do that from a whatever type of food you like. Like that type of person would have been like, fine, destroy them all. Sorry, y'all. Peace. See you on the other side. Right? But he was like, wait, no, you're not. Because that's not your nature. Here's what we're gonna do. If they be 30, you won't destroy. Okay, cool. And God said yes. Like, I was like, sure, no problem. That is the nature of pioneers and fathers and mothers that's happening. There's a relationship like that needs to exist. But so many of us in our leadership haven't been taught how to engage and co-create with God in that way. We've been taught to whatever you like, that's what we will do. right? So if a circumstance happens and it's like, well, I guess that's what God wanted to happen. And there's
Mm.
no engagement with him about, well, where do I stand on that, right? And so so that's just something that I'm seeing right now, and it's a hard conversation to have because people are so afraid from a religious standpoint of, I don't want to be arrogant. It was like, okay, here's what you need to know. Your years of obedience
Mm.
have proved that you can have this type of authority, and you just have to learn how to connect with it, because we've all had those experiences where people were saying God said stuff that God didn't say.
Mm-hmm.
And no one wants to be that person. So it's like, well, if I don't come out and say God says anything, then I will not be that person. And God's like, well, but yeah, but you're a trailblazer, you're a pioneer. So we're gonna have to work on that. You and I are going to have that conversation so that you can step and do the things that I'm actually telling you to do with success.
I could camp out right here. This is what lights me up. The partnership and co-creating. And yes, God does not want robots. That is not our purpose. And yes, there's a place for obedience, but there's also trust.
Yes.
God is trusting you, and he's saying, you pick. What do you want to do today? What do you want to work on? What are your ideas? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that plays of freedom, right? Because I love what you're saying, multiply life, legacy, impact, freedom. There's a level of freedom that when I came into the revelation of kingdom understanding and knowledge, there's a level of freedom that we have, but there's also a level of fear that we have associated with that freedom, because we haven't had great examples of freedom in its fullness being good, right? God is completely free. Think about this. God is completely free. There are no limitations or restrictions on him. And his level of freedom is full, powerful, and impactful, but it's also good, right? God is good. And so he himself is an example of that unleashed freedom that is good. But we don't look to him as an example for that. We look to the people who had freedom, we call it power, and then they use those powers for ill. They use those powers for suppression. And so one of the things that's happening now is God is helping people understand, number one, you are powerfully free. And then number two, now, how do you govern that level of freedom? One of my favorite quotes from Marianne Williamson says, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate, it's that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that we fear. And so, you know, I just feel like there's this campaign right now around leaders that God is saying, I need you to stop fearing freedom. I need you to stop fearing the freedom that you actually have, and talk to me about that. Even the conversation about money, you know, around that, you know, this idea, like even our colloquialisms around money say things like filthy rich, right? Like, why does rich and filthy have to be connected? What is that subconsciously saying to us? And so as business people, there's a level that a ceiling that we put on ourselves. It's like, okay, well, our businesses need to be financially successful, but they just to this point, because then it's going to be, I'm going to be accused of being a prosperity somebody. I'm going to be accused of being, you know, a lover of money. I'm going to be accused of all of these things. So you as a entrepreneur have the freedom to make money on demand, especially if you're in a service business, right? Like, the things that you offer did not exist until you told somebody, hey, this is what I'm doing. So you are literally printing your own money because you are offering something to somebody. Even you're making something and somebody's buying it, right? That didn't exist. You used your freedom to create something that brought money channels to you. But then you're using that same freedom to limit your potential because of what you think someone else is going to be doing. So now you're taking on energy of people who are bound and going, oh, let me stop. I can go this far and only this further and no further, right? You know, there are statistics that's, you know, for jobs that offer unlimited vacation, it's been proven that for jobs that offer unlimited vacation, meaning you can take as much vacation as you like, whenever you like, people in those jobs take less vacation. When you have a use it or lose it 2 weeks, everybody uses their 2 weeks. Then you move to a place where you have unlimited vacation. You can take however much time you want, following the processes. And it's proven that people take less vacation when they have unlimited vacation. Why? Another example of I'm afraid of my freedom. Well, I'm only going to take a few days here and there because I don't want people to think I'm not committed to the job, or I'm not, if I'm not there, it's going to look bad. It didn't look bad when you had 2 weeks to use or lose. But now that you have the freedom to say, I'm going to take 4 weeks of vacation every year, I'm going to take 6 weeks of vacation every year, you're not taking that vacation because of the energy from someone else and what you perceive your legacy is going to be, right? If you do that. And so what I love about these leaders, what you're doing here is you're giving people freedom to step into the power and expand who they are, what they're thinking about, and what's possible for them if they choose to step into true freedom.
Yes. I'm going to leave that there. I don't think I can add anything else to it. That is just, wow. People need to be watching this on repeat. Like, there's so much gold in everything you have said. There's so much wisdom, and I know revelation of just personal experience and encounter with the Lord that you're sharing with us. And I just thank you so much for that.
It's my honor. If you can't tell, this is what I was put here for.
Yeah. I know we talked a little bit, or you went into a little bit about the money already, but I'm wondering, what is something that you think people misunderstand about you? And I brought the money up because I think that's a big misunderstanding people have sometimes about what you do and what you teach. But you answer for yourself. What do you think people misunderstand?
I don't even know if I can put that into words. I think I would say it's not even like, yes, I get the most pushback sometimes when I talk about money, because for me, it's about a kingdom perspective, right? And the original intent. So if in Colossians it says that everything that was created in Jesus for him, and he is the supreme ruler over all things invisible and visible, right? He is the visible expression of the invisible God. So when I go back to that, and I had this revelation, and that's kind of how, you and I got connected. I had this revelation about, wait a minute, well, if it's a created thing, then it was created in Jesus before we ever saw it. And money is a created thing. So if money is a created thing, then the one who created it has a perspective on it that is pure, that's right, that's clean, that's good. Well, I want that perspective. Yes, there are bad, like, people will warp things and change things all the time, and have negative connotations. And but when you don't know the purpose of a thing, you will always misuse it. Okay, so going back to my movie quotes, The Little Mermaid in Disney, and I say this all the time, right? So when Scuttle told her that the fork was a dingle hopper that humans use to comb their hair, well, when she got into an environment where a fork was present, she did the wrong thing, because when you don't know the function of a thing, you will misuse it. And I think that, God is, and I think God is retraining people when it comes to money, because it's not the former prosperity things about the manipulation and all of that. It's like, no, this is how I defined it. Can is anybody listening for how I said this thing was, or are you going to continue to listen to, someone who took something that I initiated and then twisted it? That's where wicked comes from, right? Wicker furniture is just a little twist. Are you going to keep looking at that person who twisted this about money, who twisted this about health, who twisted this about love, who twisted this? Or is anybody going to come back to the original design that I had for it? So there's nothing like, religion and money and all those things that kind of push people's buttons. And I wouldn't say that that's the biggest how I'm misunderstood. I think the thing that is misunderstood about me the most is that because I position myself as an advisor to people who are going to do great things, and that I myself am not great. Mm. I think that might be a misperception because, you know, I'm not going to say like I'm a janitor or things of that nature, right? But our world, like in Snowmageddon, when that happens and your trash can't be collected, no one thinks about the janitor until the trash is not collected or this thing is not done. And I'm not saying that I'm like this janitor of leaders or anything of that nature, but because I don't exude a huge masculine energy around look at me and these are the successes that my people are doing, and let me show you how I helped this one person do $17 billion and da 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 da. Because I don't come across that way, because I don't speak to your pain as a reason for you to purchase from me, that I don't know what I'm doing, or that I don't have, that I don't have my ducks in a row, right? And we've been so used to, hey, let me tell you, aren't you sick of, we're really this infomercial model. Are you tired of not having any closet space and all of the things? Well, let me tell you about this fantastic, product where you can hang it all up and then take this thing down, and now you can, all of those things speak to the pain point of your closet's too messy, your clothes fall off. Like let me dig into and talk to you about your pain and how painful it is. And let's twist that knife a little bit more. And when I made the conscious decision that I wasn't going to do that anymore, it was, oh, well, then you're not going to make sales. When I get on a sales call with somebody and I'm not asking those questions of like, okay, tell me about this, and how hurtful is that, and how much time has that cost you, and how long have you not been able to solve that problem, and how much money is not solving that problem, costing you, and let's paint a picture of where you want to go, and and what's stopping you from getting there, da 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 da, and then all of a sudden, boom, here's what it is, and this is how much it's going to cost you or here's how much you need to invest in order to solve this pain point and step into this next place of pleasure. When I choose not to, conduct my calls that way, and for those people who do, like, do you, like, do you, boo, right? But when I decided that I wasn't going to do that, it's like, you know what I don't want to do? I can't have a company about empowerment, which is one of our core values. I can't have a company about empowerment and then disempower you. I can't be a leadership advisor and then treat you like a follower from our initial conversation and then wonder why you're not stepping into the leadership that God's calling you to. That's not congruent for us. That's not congruent. I can't understand how we can talk about leaders, but then we handpick them and say, hey, we're going to put you in a pipeline of leadership development, and you're going to do all these things that you probably don't even want. We're not even going to ask you if you want to do them, if it really makes sense. You're just so happy that you were picked that you just say yes and you go along with it. And then the company is wondering, how did we spend $15 billion a year in leadership development, but we still have positions that can't be filled because people don't know how to lead in a volatile, uncertain, changing, and ambiguous environment? Oh, because you mean people can't lead in those environments because our leadership development programs are static, uniform, constant, and idealistic. And then we're wondering why in static, uniform, constant, idealistic situations where we've trained these people in volatile, uncertain, changing, and ambiguous times, we don't have any leaders. It's like, there's something about that doesn't compute for me. So let me treat you like a human being. I'm not going to strong arm you into purchasing. I have a purchase price. And it's not that my prices are overpriced. It's outside of your budget. That's a difference. If it's outside of your budget, then it's outside of your budget. But don't put it on me that I'm overpriced. It's like, oh, I'm outside of your budget. That's all that is. Because there are other people paying you. Louis Vuitton, you don't see unless you're in certain zip codes, whatever, right? But you're not going to walk into Walmart and see a Louis Vuitton ad because that's not their demographic. It's not they're overpriced. It's shoppers of Walmart. Louis Vuitton is not in their budget. So Louis Vuitton is going to go to where their people are. And so that is the thing that's like, when I take that, I'm empowering you from the start. I'm not going to dig into your pain. I'm going to talk about what you were designed to do. I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to have you think about, and not am I going to just have you think about that. I'm going to have you connect with God yourself so that he's telling you what you were designed to do. And I'm just going to create that container. And the misinterpretation that I think, I feel misunderstood is that people don't recognize the power of the container that I create for them to have experiences encounter with God themselves. I can have an experience encounter with God myself. You sure can. And then when your mind starts going, but what about this? I don't know. That doesn't really make sense because everyone else is doing this. Do you have that facilitator? Again, my background of like, how is all of this going to connect? It's facilitation skills. My background in doing that says, wait a minute, but what did God say? Now, why are you questioning what God said? Oh, because other people doesn't see it. Okay. Is it something for other people to see? And you're sitting in that space. So now you're not just connecting with me. So again, I connect that to the prophetic. I can prophetically hear what the Lord has to say about you and tell you some fantastic and wonderful things. But you know what? What's more empowering and what's more dignifying is for you to hear God, especially in business. How do you hear him? And the unique ways that he talks to you. Like, all your relationships have nuances. All your relationships have inside jokes. All your relationships have things where it's only the people in that relationship that knows what that's about, right? Well, why do you expect that you don't have that with God, right? You do. All of us do. We have that inside joke that's between me and the Lord. And it's not blasphemous. It's not something I'm going to make a religion around. It's just, this is how our relationship develops. So when God speaks to me this way, I know he speaks to me this way. He doesn't have to speak to you that way, but I know how he speaks to me. And when I'm confident in how he speaks to me, and I don't have to defend it for anybody. I don't have to prove it to anybody. I can use it in my entire life. Then that is going to propel you so much further in your leadership and what you're actually called to do. So when he was like, Julia, I like your tangents, because that's how he started training me in the prophetic, was through my tangents. I didn't know that at the time, because I would hear, and I was like, I never talk about, I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. What is that? And then somebody in the audience was like, oh my gosh, that movie was my favorite movie. And I may have seen it like once, right? It's not a part of my repertoire. I quote Ariel all the time, The Matrix, like Moneyball, like some movies I'm like always quoting. But then it's like, it might be some obscure one or some lyric of a song that I heard once on those old time, Time Life compilation scenes. You remember that? I'm dating, right? Right. Well, it's like, and you think you're going to get all these beautiful songs, and the only reason you know those songs is because you see that commercial, and so you hear "Baby Come Back," and then it's the next song in the commercial. It's not the next song on the CD, and that's the thing that you hear, and it's like, why is that coming up right now? Well, that's how the Lord started teaching me in the prophetic, because I would hear certain things like that, and I would latch onto that and go, okay, where are we following with this? And it was something that was speaking to somebody else, and so when I started going, oh, and God was like, yeah, I like your tangents. That's how I started teaching you how to hear me in this particular way for other people. I was like, oh, snap. Okay. So God talks to me in tangents. Well, here's what I'm not going to do, Susan. I'm not going to go start the Church of Tangent and now try to make this whole dogma and doctrine about the Lord. If you don't hear God and like, stop. Like, there's certain things that's just part of relationship. And when I know that that's a part of relationship, we can do that. So how many of our leaders need to know that, number one, you're not crazy. That's just a part of you and God's relationship and how y'all speak. It's not my business how you and he connect. It's how do you interpret that? How are you understanding that? And what is the reflection and the interpretation of that interaction that we need to have? Congratulations. You have encounters with angels. Fantastic. All spiritual encounters are not there just to have this spiritual encounter to tell everybody, oh, I had these fantastic spiritual encounters. what is the purpose of those behind those spiritual encounters? That's what we need to know. So again, a long answer to, what I believe is the misinterpretation. And it's that because I take that approach of empowering, because I take that approach of helping you get confident in how you hear God, that what I have isn't valuable enough to sustain a market. And so I think that's the bigger misinterpretation or misunderstanding that, people have about me. Now, the clients who get it, love it, get it, and like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. What, so
yeah. No, I love that you describe yourself as facilitator, because that's what I tell people too. Like, I'm not here to tell you to do it a certain way.
Right.
I'm just going to help connect you with hearing God for yourself, because the two of you together makes a unique expression in the earth. It's not about me.
Yes.
Like, I'm not trying to come and be any part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we've clicked, right? Because not many are saying that, right? And we have this very top down, and the scripture says that, on the foundation of apostles and prophets, right? Not your ceiling is this person, and then everyone has to come down as the pyramid. It's like, no, flip that on the foundation. And so when God said, can I build you? I need to build you so you can be stepped on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about being a doormat for people, but it was about, like, I'm standing on the shoulders of people because they did what they did. I can do what I'm doing. And so they're not my ceiling anymore. They're now my floor. And so whose floor can I be to, help other people grow into the thing that needs to do that? And that's, and that's what Jesus said about, to serve. Serving is you're the least, not in the least that you don't have value, but the foundation, right, is a foundation. If a foundation is all that there is of a building or a house, then you know that the house isn't built. And as beautiful as the house is, the house sits on a foundation. And if and in true completion and in true freedom and in true impact, the foundation isn't seen. No one looks at foundation. No one wants to see foundation. People want to see the house, but the house or the building or the structure cannot be as glorious as it can be if the foundation isn't stable and right. And so I know I'm a part of people's foundations. And I had to accept that. And it's a beautiful thing. And there's a rising move of that, of people who are like, this is part of my plan for you. I am a Barnabas to your Paul. I am a Roy to your Disney. To your Walt. And it's not always easy to do that, but it's necessary. It's necessary.
Yeah. That's so good. I could sit in that. But we'll keep going. What do you think makes a great leader?
Oh gosh. Really the ability to see the invisible and make it visible. Either you're seeing especially when it comes to people, right? A lot of times we think a leader is one who has like great vision, and vision is important. Vision is very important. And, like purpose and project and things of that nature, it's important. But as a leader, you're not going to carry out that vision, execute that vision, fulfill on that vision without the ability of other people. And so I can't remember, it might have been Maxwell who said, leadership is getting things done through others. And so may have been him, may not have been him, I can't remember. But one of the things that you're going to have to do is look deeper into people to see what they're not showing you, the goal that's there, and speak to that so that that rises to the surface, right? Because we all have versions of ourselves that we like and we want other people to see and believe us for. But a great leader is one who will speak into
Mm.
a mass amount of people in a way that makes them feel like, oh my gosh, you're speaking directly to me, to pull out the thing that God is already working on, whether they believe in God or not. Just pull out the thing that God is saying to them about what they're doing, so that when they come into, the project, when they come into whatever they're doing, they are really coming from a place of their connectedness and their inspiration and their safety, right? I think great leaders create safe environments. You don't have to babysit your people. You don't have to coddle them, but you have to create environments where they can be safe for the freedom that they want, for the freedom that they possess to really come out and shine for you, right? So the ability to see the invisible, the project, the vision of where we're going, somebody needs to see that and make it tangible, make it plain. But then you also have to see what's invisible in your people and the people around you, the people you're called to bring out that good in them too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes me think of, I think it's Dub Alexander who says, heaven will always speak to you as heaven sees you.
Right.
And it's that, like you say, pulling out, seeing who they are and speaking to that, not the circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. What do you think is the most important skill, if you could pick one, that someone would need to master to sustain a successful business?
Ooh.
You can give more than one, but
The most successful skill to maintain a successful business. Gosh. Oh man. I'm a little biased on this one, but I am going to say alignment. I'm going to say alignment. Because if the products or services of your business is not in alignment with the mission and vision of your business, you're not going to be successful. If the people you hire are not in alignment with the mission and vision, the goals that the business, you're not going to be successful. So the more aligned you are to, the more aligned you are, the more successful you're going to be. And here's the interesting part, because alignment can change. So there could be times where it's like the mission vision actually needs to be refreshed and updated because it's not big enough or expansive enough. And so then there's this falling into alignment of what that new vision is, and getting that new vision, making sure that it's implemented in every part of your company, whether in your hiring practices, in your customer service, in your sales and marketing, and everything that you do, in your operations, your legal, your compliance, like it's all connected. And so I'm going to say alignment is that learning how to have this, learning how to know what your true north is and connect everything to go in that direction.
Yeah.
Because your sales tactics can change, your products and services can change, the people you hire can change, your positions and all those things. Those can change. But you being in alignment, your company being in alignment, is going to maintain the sustainability of your legacy.
Yeah. Well, we started out talking about 12-year-old Julia. Let's go back to her for a minute. And if you could talk to her now, what would you say?
Girl, relax. I've thought about similar questions, and I was like, but even if I said that to myself, then would I believe me? Like at that point in my life, it's like, yeah. I would say, you're not deficient. You're not defective. You're just different. And the sooner you can embrace your difference, the healthier you're going to be, right? Yeah. So that's what I would say to her. I don't know if she would listen to me, but she'd probably go, what? That doesn't even make sense. but it's like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna be thankful that some of the things that you were asking for you didn't get. You're gonna be thankful for it. I know, it seems like a big deal right now, but it's not. You'll be thankful for it and enjoy being a kid, because I don't think I did. I felt like I had to be responsible early on, and so I don't think I wouldn't let myself enjoy being a kid. And so yeah, enjoy that time, girl, because you're gonna have responsibilities for a long time in your life. So just enjoy where you are now.
Yes, being an adult will come soon enough.
Yes, it will.
Leave the responsibilities for later. Well, Julia, thank you so much. This has just been an incredible conversation. And I'm serious when I say, like, people need to listen to this on repeat. You're not going to get it all in the first go round, because there was so much in that. Like, I could have went off in so many different directions. There was so much gold in that. And I just honor you and thank you. What you're putting out into the world is so important. So important. And I would tell your 12-year-old self, keep going. Be you. Don't try to be like anybody else, because the world needs what you carry.
I appreciate that, Susan. Thank you so much. I appreciate people who I can have these conversations with and they get it. And so it's an honor that we can have this conversation. And I know that's the value of yours. And so I'm just grateful for the series that you're doing, and what it's going to be unlocking in people to facilitate their own encounter, to make some determinations and interpretations that are going to propel people forward. So kudos to you. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you want to learn more about me or any of my guests, all of the links are in the description below the video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share it on all your social pages. Until next time, remember that you have the power to multiply life without burnout.